Right, good day, Maswati Lamahle. It's been a while. We've had different clips going on in our little social media podcast here, but once again, it's Finance in Focus, which we are talking about this week. And this week I felt like it might be necessary to looking at the dynamics. There's been a lot of activity in Parliament this week and a lot of movement around loan bills that are going through. So I thought, let me just unpack it, just man on the street, be able to understand these loan bills, understand what's going on. First of all, we actually haven't taken many loans in the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, obviously 2023 was election year, a bad year for coming with too much to Parliament. Parliament closes soon. Right towards the end, you have a fresh group of MPs. So generally, I didn't take anything in 2023. 2024, I think there were two smallish kind of loans that we brought through. One from 𝐌𝐿𝐍𝐻 Dam, which was critical, and otherwise just two smaller ones. And again, these loans were minimal because it was the first year of work. This year is now the main year that, let's say, government's gears for the 12th Parliament really kick in, and you start working very hard on it. And there's a lot of loan bills coming through. And so the ones that are currently in the House, and there's still 2 or 3 coming for the year, but the ones that are there now, it's actually 5 loan bills. So I'll quickly unpack them. The first one is for a strategic oil reserve that we're busy building. It's a loan with the 𝐿 Bank of Taiwan. 𝐿 Bank of China on Taiwan is how we refer to it. The next one is a loan from African Development Bank for a road that starts at Spofaneni. It goes all the way through to Maloma. From Maloma, it also then cuts through back to the Big Bend Road. Almost goes back to Big Bend from there through to Nsogo. And then also another road also from Maloma and then through to Spambanweni. So linking up again the Hluti and Hlangano to Lavomisa Road. So bringing in a very nice network in the Lebombo and Shosomeni areas there, about over 100 kilometers of road. And this is a high quality tarred road. We then have 2 loans, actually both from the World Bank, understanding that we have now got 2 pockets of finance that we can take from the World Bank. The one is the very concessional one that we got recently, and on this one, for every dollar we loan today, we repay $1 in like 30 years time, and you only pay $1 for $1. There's virtually no interest. You can see it that way, or you can see it in the other way, that if there was interest, we're only paying 39 cents for every dollar we're loaning. It's a very concessional window from the World Bank. And then the other SQUAM is the normal IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which the World Bank works off, which the normal loans the World Bank would get, which is still concessional, but it's not nearly as much grant element as the IDA one. These 2 are for electricity to homesteads. At the moment, as a country, if you take from 2003, we were only at 5%. Only 5% of the homesteads in Eswatini had electricity in the homes. Over many years, and really thanks to the Republic of China and Taiwan, through a lot of support from them, we took that from 5% up until 2024. It was actually 88%. I think that the money from Taiwan ended, I'm not even sure on my terms, it's around 2018, somewhere there the money ended. We've been carrying it a bit as government, getting it from around 80% to about 88%. But the last bit that's actually normally quite expensive, because it's now really homesteads that are difficult to get to, is now this last 12%, and we've taken this it's $100 million US, of which 10 million is a grant, and then it's these two loans we're getting from the World Bank, making up a $90 million US, and that's going to get us to 100% of Emaswati homes will be able to have electricity. Even if the people can't afford it, there'll still be a ready board put into people's homes under this program. And then the last one is budget support. So on this one, we're actually getting a loan from the World Bank again, and it means that as one knows, that this year's budget that I tabled, that has been approved, actually did have a funding shortfall. We had identified the funding, but we still now need to raise the funding to pay for things in the budget. It's also $100 million US, and so it's for budget support. And this is really going to help us. So the money should be coming through in the next 2, maximum 3 weeks. And to really make sure our cash flows in the year will be a lot tidier, a lot neater. So again, the Strategic Oil Reserve is still being finalized now. Strategic Oil Reserve is really just to be able to make sure that we have security as fuel, which is critical for a landlocked country like ours, because we don't have access to sea. We can't just get a shipload ourselves. Whatever comes in, we need to truck into Eswatini. And if any kind of crisis hits us, and those trucks stop, like we saw with the unrest in COVID. There was a lot of trouble here. When there was unrest even in Natal that time, we found we had massive problems getting our fuel to Eswatini. Filling stations run out of fuel, and it brings the economy to a grinding halt. So critical to have a strategic oil reserve. When we have this reserve, though, it means that we can buy fuel cheaper because we can now bring it in on trains. Where at the moment it's mainly coming in from road, and even when we do bring some fuel in on trains. But because we don't have storage, you can only bring in a few wagons of fuel. You can't actually bring a long train full of fuel. And when we can do that, we should be able to reduce the price of the transport, meaning that it'll help us to repay this. At the same time, we do have a fuel, at the moment there's 35 cents being charged on the fuel price that'll be going in there. At the moment, there'll be handling fees they're going to be charging for that. We're blending ethanol at this tank. That ethanol should also see if there's some kind of benefit in the price. But we're really hoping that we'll be able to take this loan, use the funds that we have, and ultimately benefit. And when the loan is paid, it should then mean that the fuel cost in Eswatini actually comes down. So we'll see. We'll see exactly how that pricing works out in the long run, because some things are impossible to know now based on exchange rates and different things happening. But we really believe that it's going to help us a huge amount as a country. In fact, in time, what we're planning to do as a country is, when we have the fuel storage facility, is actually to put a servitude through Mozambique and then actually put a pipeline into Mozambique all the way out to sea, and Eswatini then have their own. One doesn't need to use a port in this case. It's like a bobby out at sea. I think it's got a better name, I think. But one then actually has it where ships can come in and they can just link up to one's pipe, and they then pump the fuel straight from a ship all the way through into our fuel reserve, meaning we can then buy fuel directly as a country. Obviously, we still have the fuel companies that are doing what they're doing, but it gives us more flexibility to be able to even buy a shipload of fuel and have that out from the Mozambican coast, actually just pump the fuel straight into Eswatini. In that case, once again, it cuts our transport. It means we can hopefully buy maybe cheaper. We've got lovely relationships with countries that have refined fuel that are willing to support us, and we can maybe buy fuel as a country along those lines. Again, if we have that servitude through to Mozambique, one can then possibly even run a gas pipeline from Mozambique into Eswatini along the same servitude, bringing piped gas, which again should be able to reduce the cost of bottled gas in the country if we can do that. So a lot of these exciting things going on, but otherwise I really believe that these loans will be good for us. It does increase our debt stock of loans, but at the same time, with our GDP, keeping in mind that our loan book can go up, but we measure it as debt to GDP. So as long as our GDP is increasing as well, it means that even though we're taking on more debt, our debt to GDP ratio, which is the critical one to look at, remains stable. And so with our growth this year being now, it was 8.3, we've now revised it down to 7.9. It means our GDP grows quite aggressively, the most it's grown in a very long time, and meaning that it means that we can take on a bit more debt because our debt to GDP ratio remains healthy under those circumstances. So that's what we keep in mind. Also keeping in mind the 3 loans will be paid by the taxpayer, but the one for strategic oil will be paid by the fuel users. So it's not actually the same pocket where the money will be coming out from to repay these loans. But all in all, I really believe as a Minister of Finance, we're doing the right thing with these loans, and I believe that our country will continue to grow from strength to strength as we continue to expand, and it really helps the economic growth continue to grow. All these things will have a strong impact on economic growth, and that's really what we're pushing for at the moment, so 𝐿 can get jobs, and by doing so get out of poverty. Thank you very much.